on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today is Wednesday, February 18th, but the 4 official plays that I'm going to go over in today's video are for tomorrow, the first game post All-Star break. And then I also got like around 20 leans as well to go over for the whole slate. We're up just over 25 units on the season, which I know isn't good to a lot of people, but for me, that's pretty phenomenal. This is my first go around with like recording and posting all my plays. My goal is to get to 50 units by the end of the season, and then for years to come, continue to get better and better and make more money. So yeah, let's finish out the second half of the season strong. So let's get right into the picks. All right, so my first pick for today or tomorrow's set of games is in the Rockets-Hornets game, and I'm going with Brandon Miller over 20.5 points. Now, the read here, yes, Miles Bridges and Moussa Diabate are both still suspended and out for this game. And if you look at games without Diabate, with LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller has scored over 20.5 points in 3 out of 4 games, averaging 25 points per game. If you want to like throw Kalkbrenner in there, he's over in 2 out of 2. And one of these games was without Miles Bridges as well. And that is pretty much my read. In the 2 games without Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller has taken 29 and 26 shots and is averaging 32 points per game. Now, I don't expect him to score another 30 points, but all we need is for him to score 21. And if he's taking anywhere close to this amount of shots, he'd have to shoot terribly to not score 21 points. So if we just look at games on the season when Brandon Miller has taken, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 shots, let's just keep going up, 18 shots. He's gone over in 13 out of 18 games, averaging almost 24 points per game. Even if he takes just 15 shots, which I think is a very reasonable floor, and we look at home games, he's gone over in 10 out of 14, averaging a little over 24 points per game. And on the season, he's averaging 22.2 points per game at home, versus away, he's only averaging 19.1. Now, I know it's not the best matchup scoring-wise for Brandon Miller, but then if we look in this bottom right corner where you're looking at similar players by position or by PropsMadness, I like using the by PropsMadness filter more because they don't just look at by position, they also take into account play style and the build of the player, how similar it is to these guys. Like Benedict Mathurin might be a little shorter than Brandon Miller, but they play pretty similar games. They don't just look at by position because Lou Dort and Aaron Nesmith don't really play similar to Brandon Miller in my opinion. So it can be misleading at times. Head-to-head wise, I know Brandon Miller only scored 11 points, but he only played 21 minutes in this game. He took 9 shots, got to the free throw line once, and this was with a fully healthy Hornets squad. And Brandon Miller is projected to play another 35 minutes like he has been or was before the All-Star break. Now, Kobe White is questionable to play for the Hornets tomorrow, and if he does, obviously this line, that's probably why it's sitting at 20.5 in the first place, but I don't really expect Kobe White to take much shots away from Brandon Miller, and if he does take shots away from anybody on the Hornets, I'm guessing it's going to be more LaMelo Ball and CANT because Kobe White would more than likely be subbing in for LaMelo Ball or CANT over Brandon Miller. And he's only projected to play around the 20-minute mark, so also returning from injury, I don't expect him to be ready to shot chuck and take away shots. If Brandon Miller does get up to the 20 field goal attempt mark, he's gone over with LaMelo Ball in 5 out of 6 games, averaging almost 27 points per game. So if he does get an insane amount of volume, obviously he can shit the bed, but more than likely he's gonna score around 25 points. And the only thing that kept me away from playing like 0.4 units or 0.5 units on his 25 plus is the game total is really low. When I first sent this out to Discord and started talking about it days ago, the game total is at 214.5 points, so it has gone up a little bit, which is why I originally locked this in. Clearly the books do kind of see this game being a little high scoring than what they originally predicted. Not by much, but it could continue to still rise. But yeah, my first play is Brandon Miller over 20.5 points. Now my second play is in the same game, and I'm going with his teammate LaMelo Ball under. I took 7.5 assists. Obviously you can't get this anymore. His under 7.5 assist line was at like negative 124 on DraftKings 2 days ago, I believe. I slept on it. Wanted to see how the line would move the next morning. The odds were at like minus 140 and higher, so it was insanely juiced. But then it dropped down to the minus 132 mark, and I locked it in at 1 unit because I knew this line was going to drop to 6.5, and I wanted to take the value at 7.5 because, as you can see, he does end at 7 assists pretty frequently. Now, like I mentioned in the Brandon Miller read, the reason why I was a little scared to play his 25 plus points was because of the total. And that is exactly why I like playing LaMelo's under in assists here. Without Diabate, he's gone under in all 4 games. I know he only played 21, 26 minutes, but even when he played 32 in a very easy matchup versus the Hawks right before All-Star break, LaMelo wasn't able to get 7 assists. So a 7.5 line is perfectly fine for me in a much harder matchup with the seriously low game total. In both games without Miles Bridges, he's gone under. If we look at games on the season with Brandon Miller, and in tough matchups, he's gone under in 11 out of 12 games, averaging just 5 assists per game. Let's bump up his minutes. He'll probably see like 31-ish minutes. I mean, it doesn't get any better. The Rockets play at an insanely slow pace, which LaMelo clearly struggles to get assists in slow-paced matchups. I could honestly see him taking 20-plus shots like he did right before the All-Star break, and how I project Brandon Miller to take a ton of shots as well. But again, if Kobe White does play, I expect him to take minutes away from LaMelo, not so much Brandon Miller, which would also reinforce the fact on why under 7.5 assists is a pretty good look. Even though the Hornets are at home and players tend to shoot better when they're at home, so guys like LaMelo Ball could potentially get more assists. If we want to look at home, he's under 7.5 assists in 10 out of 20 games, just in general. And then any way you kind of want to spin it is a tough matchup for him. So the hit rate pretty much falls in our favor any way you want to spin it. Obviously a tough matchup, and I know there's a lot of green over here, but only 3 players have actually gone over 7.5 assists on this chart. And LaMelo honestly doesn't even see crazy amount of potential assists. Like 16 is a lot, 14's a lot, 13's obviously a lot, but to get 8 assists, he would need to convert on over 50% of his potential assists. I mean, if we look at games where he doesn't really get too high of potential assists, he's gone under in however many games this is, like 10 games straight or 9 games straight. So yeah, my second play is LaMelo Ball under 7.5 assists. Probably spent too much time talking about it since you can't really get the line anymore. I mean, maybe you could sprinkle 0.5 units on the under 6.5 because that did cash in his 7.5, 6.5 line. Maybe it'll bump back up to 7.5 before game time. But yeah, you guys get the point. Now, my third play is in the Pistons-Knicks game, and I took Tobias Harris over 5.5 rebounds. I originally sent this out in Discord at plus 130 and said I think there's pretty good value there. I didn't lock it in. I locked it in now at plus 112. I wish I locked it in at plus 130 because it's a pretty simple read in my opinion. Without Jalen Duren, Tobias Harris has gone over in 2 out of 3 games, really small sample size. He went under against the Heat. It was the second half of a back-to-back. Then the other 2 games, one was against the Knicks. He had 10 rebound chances, converted on 6 of them in just 26 minutes. And that's who they're playing today. And then Isaiah Stewart is also out, which is in the one game they played before the All-Star break without them, since they're both suspended for getting in that brawl. Tobias Harris had 12 rebounds on 16 rebound chances. So a 5.5 line at plus money seems insane to me. So a 5.5 line at plus money already seems insane to me. It like almost feels too good to be true. Similar players have been able to grab rebounds versus the Knicks as well over the last 2 months. And then if I head over to the straight bet NBA player prop on and off data tool, and I go to the Detroit Pistons and look at games with Duren and Stewart off, and then you can look at with Paul Reed. Tobias Harris, he's projected to play, let's quickly look at RotoWire, the Pistons. He's projected to play 32 minutes, and let's just look. Recently, he has been seeing that 31, 35 mark, so that seems pretty reasonable for me. So if we look at just per 30 minutes with Paul Reed on and then Duren and Stewart off, Tobias Harris is averaging 8.2 rebounds per 30 minutes. And you want to apply the matchup because it is a tough matchup. The Knicks are a pretty good rebounding team with Cat and Mitchell Robinson. So if we select the opponent, the New York Knicks, and over their last 10 games, they've obviously are a pretty good rebounding team. Tobias Harris is still averaging 7.9 rebounds per game with that filter applied. So again, I just think I wish I locked this in at plus 130, but I still got it at plus 112, which is really good value. So yeah, my third play is Tobias Harris over 5.5 rebounds. And my fourth and final official play, and probably my favorite one out of all of these, is in the Suns-Spurs game, and I went with Devin Booker over 29.5 PA. Yes, I know this is at 31.5, 32.5 on some books. I got this at 29.5, and that's what I sent it out to my Discord and VIP subs. I probably said it in general as well before I even locked it in just for free because I enjoy talking to you guys and bouncing ideas off each other. But I was originally looking at Devin Booker's assists because versus the Spurs, he's had an insane amount of potential assists in both games, 17 in both games. And I went back and I rewatched the highlights of the game, and Devin Booker was just dribbling into the paint and then kicking out to his teammate so often. Like the first couple plays of the game is him just getting assists. So I was originally just looking at his 5.5 assists, but then Grayson Allen is a game time decision. And without Grayson Allen, I know he's been able to rack up assists, but in away games without him, he's really struggled to. But it's post All-Star break. The Suns are fighting for a playoff spot. I think they're currently the 7th seed, and Dillon Brooks is out. His points line was at 23.5 when I locked in the 29.5 PA. And so this is the chart that I saw without Dillon Brooks. And you can see without Dillon Brooks, he's averaging 32 points per game. And all these games were with Grayson Allen. And one of them was versus the Spurs. So if we just look at head-to-head matchups, Devin Booker scored more than 23.5 points in both games as well. One of them without Dillon Brooks. And he had a 29 and a 28% usage percentage. He's also projected to play 34 minutes, a team high. And the Spurs allow the most points per game to pull-up shot attempts, which is how Devin Booker scores 50% of his points. Similar players, SGA, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, they've been able to rack up points versus the Spurs as well. I know they have Wemby, but it's definitely possible. So the reason why I went PA was because, yes, I liked the assists, but if Grayson Allen doesn't play and Devin Booker has a game where he gets just 3 or 4 assists, I do expect him to be taking a ton of shots, which could make up for him not really assisting the ball. But if Grayson Allen does play, then I'm expecting Devin Booker to have another one of those games where he's getting 17 potential assists. And he got 7 assists on 17 potentials without Grayson Allen in their most recent game versus the Spurs. So it's obviously possible. This has actually been juiced like crazy and bumped to 6.5. I didn't even realize that. I thought it was mainly just his points. Now I don't know why this is at 32.5 on some books. But yeah, if Grayson Allen does play, I do expect Devin Booker to have an easier time getting assists. So if he doesn't score as much, I do think if he could get like 7-8 assists and make up and cash that 29.5 PA. So yeah, my 4th and final official play is Devin Booker over 29.5 PA. Now, before I get into the leans, if you guys are tired of missing out on value like that Devin Booker read where I got it at 29.5 PA and now it's at 31.5, 32.5, then I highly suggest considering joining my Discord for free or supporting me for $5 a month and getting all my plays. I still try to give out a lot of my plays for free. That's why I do like uploading these YouTube videos. But VIP does get almost all my plays early. And for $5 a month, I'm really just asking you guys to give me a little support for being up 25 units this season and for putting all the time into finding these plays and giving them out to you guys. My whole goal is to allow people who can't afford the $20 per month, $50, $99 a month, and still give them a way to make money sports betting while also benefiting me a little bit. Another way you guys can do that is just by liking, subscribing, and commenting on the video. I'd really appreciate that. But yeah, let's jump into all the leans for this massive slate. So starting in the Hawks 76ers game, I had 2 leans on the Sixers side of the ball. I was looking at VJ Edgecombe under 4.5 assists. It is pretty juiced already, but the read here is a system read we've been playing all season long. It did fail us the last time we played it, but without Paul George, obviously this number is insane. He's gone under in 19 out of 26 games, averaging less than 4 assists per game. But then if you throw in without Joel Embiid as well, he's only gone over in 2 out of 14 games, averaging less than 3.5 assists. But the game total is super high, and the Hawks their defense isn't good. So if the game does stay close, I could see VJ just getting assists throughout the game. If this was a tougher matchup like the Knicks, Pistons, Cavs, Hornets, Suns, I definitely would be locking this in. But because the game total is so high and the spread is pretty close, I just stayed away. Now that was if Joel Embiid was ruled out. If he does get ruled in, I do like Kelly Oubre over 14.5 points because in games without Paul George, but with Joel Embiid, he's gone over, scored at least 15 points in 9 out of 11 games, averaging 16.2 points per game. And he is fully healthy now, so he's projected to play 36 minutes, which is a lot of time on the court to score 15 points for someone who isn't afraid to shoot the ball like Kelly Oubre. Oh, he really stunk up the bed when they lost by 50. Still played 30 minutes, but you can see he's not afraid to take like 13, 14 shots. And if he does, I really do like this play at 14.5 at almost plus money. Dyson Daniels points could be interesting since the Sixers do suck at defending the restricted area and he kind of thrives when that's the case. But other than that, yeah, I had nothing. I know I had 2 plays in the Rockets Hornets game, but I didn't really talk about the Rockets side of the ball. And my one lean was Tari Eason over 11.5 points just because he is projected to play 31 minutes, I believe. Yeah, 31 minutes. So when Tari Eason does play 26 plus minutes, he's gone over in 13 out of 17 games, averaging 14.1 points per game. But it is a tough matchup, and I honestly could see Sengun dropping like 25 because Diabate and Miles Bridges are out, which is kind of some big bodies in the paint. Or Kevin Durant could score 31 again. I know Tari Eason didn't play in this game, so they also don't have film on him other than versus other teams. In the Nets-Cavs game, I was looking at Jarrett Allen over 14.5 points just because Evan Mobley, he's now got ruled probable. He just got ruled probable as I was recording this video. But without him, I was looking at his first quarter points. I know we ran that right before the All-Star break and it cashed us out at plus money. But with Evan Mobley, he really struggles to get up to that 15-point mark. Obviously, could be different with James Harden. I could see James Harden scoring a lot if Evan Mobley does play and kind of like facilitates from the middle of the floor. And the Nets will just let you play iso ball versus them. And when James Harden faces a team that plays a lot of isolation, he's gone over more times than he hasn't. But I just ultimately stayed away because I don't really know what to fully expect from the Cavs with James Harden and Evan Mobley both healthy. Honestly, I could see a Donnie Mitchell under this game, but you know I would never do that because his usage percentage is so high. Like, oh my gosh. It's just so tempting, man. But it's really not because it's a really tough matchup. On the Nets side, I was looking at Eagle or Demon over 11.5 points or maybe over his 2.5 threes. But if he makes 3 threes, he's more than likely going to go over 11.5 points. Let's just see really quick. Yeah, almost every single time he's made 3 threes, he's scored 12 points and he hooked at 11 twice. He's projected to play 28 minutes, which is pretty solid for him if we cap him at 30 and then give him like 25 minutes. He's gone under more than he hasn't. But he has a ton of teammates like up in the air with injury news. Michael Porter Jr.'s game time decision, same with Noah Clowney. And Nick Claxton is doubtful. Super small sample size without him, but it is a pretty good matchup, so I could see him going over 11.5 points, making a couple good shots. In the Pacers-Wizards game, I really only had the 2 main players over their points. Like Pascal plays pretty well in away games. It's a pretty easy matchup all around. The Wizards obviously are terrible. It's not a surprise, but the Pacers just have too much injury news up in the air for me to lock this in at 23.5. And then same with Trey Johnson. I could see him. This was at 12.5. It looks like it's been bumped to 13.5 on almost every book. But Alex Sarr is out. And what do the Wizards have to lose? The only thing that held me back was that he's still projected to play 23 minutes. And I honestly could see this being pretty accurate. The Wizards just kind of playing everybody around the 20-minute mark, 25-minute mark. So that's why I ultimately stayed away, and it's still a pretty decently tough matchup versus the Pacers for him. I think a lot of people are expecting him to just play that 30-plus minute mark because that's what he was playing a little before the All-Star break. If he does, it's a pretty good look, but it's just too much uncertainty for me to lock it in and give it to you guys being confident enough to make money. Some leans in the Pistons-Knicks game was Jalen Brunson. Honestly, I could see his points going both ways. I could see him going under because Asar Thompson is the one guarding him, and he's struggled in the past. Obviously, he shot 4 for 20 from this game, but Jalen Brunson probably isn't going to shoot 4 for 20 again. And he did take more than 20 shots in both games, or at least 20 shots in both games versus the Pistons. So if he does see anywhere close to that again, I do like his chances of going over 26.5 points. They are at home as well. That doesn't really help my case, but Brunson will feed off the crowd. But then for similar reasons, I could also see him going under because Asar Thompson is the one guarding him. And OG Anunoby just got ruled active, it looks like. So he will also be taking a good amount of shots away from Jalen Brunson than when he took 31 shots versus the Pacers. Probably won't do that again. So I could see his points going over and under. That's why it's a lean for me. I didn't lock it in either way. But I did like his under 5.5 assists at plus money. I'm honestly waiting for this to get bumped to 6.5 potentially on some books, because a 6.5 line would be a lock for me versus the Pistons, honestly. I mean, look at his potentials. I know they got blown out in both these games, but Brunson still played 31 minutes, and the Pistons defense is just so good. But again, Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart are both out because they're suspended. So maybe their defense will be a little worse on the interior, which might benefit Jalen Brunson, and why his 5.5 assists is heavily favored over, even though he's really struggled to do it versus the Pistons in the past. Another interesting look, though, was Paul Reed over 2.5 assists at plus 145. We just look at games when Paul Reed, he played 33 minutes in the one game where they both got suspended. And so if we look at when Paul Reed has played 25 plus minutes, he's gone over 2.5 assists in 6 out of 7 games, averaging almost 4 assists per game. The one time he went under, though, was versus the Knicks, and it was a blowout win. I mean, that's probably why he played 26 minutes, but he didn't really do much assisting. He kind of just took 7 shots. But at plus 145, when looking at this graph, I think there's a pretty good amount of value there. In the Raptors-Bulls game, the only thing I really considered playing was Scotty Barnes over 5.5 assists at plus money because it is such a good matchup. I also considered his RA just because the Bulls are so small. They have like 30 guards and one big. So it should be pretty easy for Scotty Barnes to get some rebounds. I know he only had 6 versus the Bulls a week or two ago, but it was the second night of a back-to-back, and he still had 13 rebound chances. Hurdle didn't play, and RJ Barrett didn't play in that game, so I could also see him going under, but I did like the look here with the fast-paced Bulls and him getting some assists. Other than that, just like the Pacers-Wizards game, this game is just disgusting to me. So much injury news still waiting to be released, so I just stayed away as a whole. In the Suns-Spurs game, I know I took Devin Booker, but I do honestly really like Dylan Harper's 10.5 points line at -106. It looks like he's kind of taking minutes away from Julian Champagnie because he's projected to play 27 minutes and Julian Champagnie's only projected to play 20. And you can see over his last 2 games before the All-Star break, Dylan Harper played 27 minutes and 29. I know they were kind of blowouts, but again, it's the post-All-Star break. Teams are going to want to win games. Dylan Harper's role might increase. And so if he does play more than like 23 minutes, 23 plus minutes, he's gone over 10.5 points in 17 out of 22 games, averaging 14 points per game. Even with Victor, it gets even better. He's only gone under 3 times. Honestly, might lock this in still, but as of right now, it's just a lean for me because it is a pretty tough matchup versus the Suns. They're a pretty good defense. They have the 10th best defense in the league. And if the minutes projection is wrong and he doesn't see the 23 plus mark and only sees like 25 to 18, I could see him going under as well. Another lean I had was Colin Gillespie over his 13.5, 14.5 points line. And this is just a simple read. If Grayson Allen sits, I know he struggled, but they lost by 27 points. He only took 7 shots in this game. He shot terribly versus the Sixers and shot terribly versus the Thunder, and the Thunder are really good defense, and he only played 26 minutes, which isn't the case tomorrow. With Grayson Allen, he's projected to play 30 minutes. So if we rule out the games where he didn't play 30 minutes, he's gone over this line, this 14.5 line at almost plus money. 10 out of 11 games, averaging 17.5 points per game. And all of these games were with Devin Booker. So if you want to try and say, oh, they're probably the games where Devin Booker sat out. Nope, they weren't. Dillon Brooks is also gone when all these games are with Dillon Brooks as well. So there should be almost 15 to 20 shots that have to be taken up by someone else. I could see that being Colin Gillespie. In the Magic Kings game, honestly, this is a really strong lead of mine. And it's Wendell Carter Jr. under 7.5 rebounds. He's gone under this line more times than he's gone over. And without Franz, he's only gone over this in 9 out of 24 games, averaging 7 rebounds per game. So it's going to be a really sweaty play if you do play the under here. But if we look at games without Franz, with Paolo, with Jalen Suggs, and then a lot of people don't really know this guy, but Moritz Wagner out of Michigan is back and fully healthy. And if we look at PropsMadness, he's taking a lot of shots and grabbing a good amount of rebounds per game now that he's fully healthy, even if he plays 12 to 17 minutes. 5 rebounds, 8 rebounds, 8 points. He took only 3 shots, 10 shots, 8 shots. Like, he's getting to the line as well. That's just a good amount of usage taken away from Wendell Carter Jr. overall. So if he's already going under this line and then we add in Mo, he's gone under 7.5 rebounds in 7 out of 8 games, averaging less than 6 rebounds per game. And he's only projected to play 29 minutes. So the one time he did go over, he only played 22. But if we look at just in general, when Wendell Carter Jr. doesn't play the 34-minute mark, he's gone under this line, and I know 52%, so it does favor him, but he's only averaging 7.4 rebounds per game, so he's still going under that mark. Without Franz, he's averaging less than 7. And I know the Kings on the season have been a terrible rebounding team, but like, look at who he's going to be matched up against when he's on the floor. If Sabonis plays, it's going to be Sabonis, and he'll only play like 20, 24 minutes. So when Sabonis isn't on the floor, he's going to be matched up against Maxime, who has shown that he's been able to rebound the ball. He had almost a 20-20 game. And then Dylan Cardwell, who we bet on to grab like 9 rebounds and is a really good rebounder as well. So no matter who Wendell Carter Jr. is on the floor with, he's going to have a tough rebounding matchup. But the thing that does scare me is like, over these last couple games without Franz and with Goga not playing, he's seen 19 rebound chances, 18, 17, 15, but he's not like a good rebounder. He doesn't convert on a lot of his rebound chances. So if he doesn't get a crazy amount of rebound chances, he's not going to grab 8 rebounds. Honestly, I might just lock this in. I'm kind of talking myself into playing it right now. But yeah, that was my strongest lean in the Magic Kings game. Just stayed away from the Kings. Don't know what the hell is going on with them. It's just a dumpster fire there. But In the Celtics-Warriors game, my main lean was Peyton Pritchard over his points plus assists probably. I like a little better just because with Vooch, he's had 9 potential assists, 12 and 12. So 4.5 line is pretty low. I know it's heavily juiced. 5.5 at plus money could be interesting. But that's why I also like his points and assists because he is coming off the bench and is still projected to play 33 minutes. And his usage has been insane recently. So when his usage is like 22, let's just look at like 22%. Like this is insane. 22.5 PA. Like so many leans here. I wish I could just lock in all these plays. I mean, I can, nothing's stopping me, but I want to be conservative because we don't really know how teams are going to adjust post All-Star break as well. But I do really like this Peyton Pritchard PA line. I also like Derek White's under 4.5 rebounds. You could talk me into his under RA. We ran the under 10.5 RA. I think it was versus the Heat, yeah. But I think his rebounds, it's heavily juiced. You can't play it anywhere. But when I was looking at this play, the odds were a lot better. The Warriors aren't the best rebounding team. But if Derek White, like look, over his last 10 games, he's only grabbed 5 rebounds in 2 out of 10 games. And he's averaging less than 4. Averaging just 6.6 rebound chances. So if we go to games where he sees like the 5 to 7 rebound chance mark, he hasn't grabbed more than 5 rebounds. So it'd be a super sweaty read, but similar players have gone under. I could see him going under, but I would be a little cautious about going under 9.5 RA because it's been low because he's been going under it recently. Porzingis, 11.5 points versus his former team. He'll probably only play, let's see, he's projected to play 18 minutes. I mean, he still could score 25, 16. I know this is with a completely different team, but his debut on the Warriors versus his old team, the Celtics give up a ton of above the break threes and are below average at defending the mid-range, which is where Kristaps scores almost 50% of his points. So I could see him having a little bit of a revenge game here, but he's only projected to play 18 minutes and you don't know what to expect. I don't really like betting on Porzingis because you're just kind of betting on him to shoot well, which he could, but I don't know what to expect, so I just stayed away. I also liked Steph Curry under his rebounds line. I know it's heavily juiced now, but coming off an injury, if Curry does play, he's only projected to play 31 minutes. And without Jimmy Butler, the only time he did grab 4 was when he played more than 31. So when he plays less than 33, he's gone under in all 5 games, averaging less than 4 rebounds per game. But if Steph is healthy and does play, I could see a bunch of threes just falling into his lap because when shots are taken from deep, which the Celtics and the Warriors like to do, a lot of the rebounds are long rebounds, which tend to fall in guards' hands. And it's just so juiced, I stayed away. It's not worth the juice at 3.5. If it was 4.5 at this juiced, I would lock it in a heartbeat. But 3.5 is still pretty low. Now the final game, Nuggets-Clippers. This game honestly has my most leans out of any game, I think, because I'm just sitting here debating. Kawhi plays really good at home. We watched him in the All-Star game. If he's still on demon time, he could easily score 30 versus the Nuggets. He took 18 shots, only scored 21 points versus them a couple weeks ago. But if Kawhi's taking at least 18 shots at home, I like his chances to score 27 points. If this drops to 26.5, I might lock it in. But Benedict Mathurin playing, he's projected to play like 30 minutes. And Jordan Miller just signed a 2-year extension with the Clippers, so those two could kind of make up for James Harden's volume. So I don't really know what to expect, but then again, all these games are basically with James Harden, so do what you will with that. Just a lean for me as of right now. I did originally say Benedict Mathurin 13.5 points. Kind of wish I locked it in just because he is projected to play so many minutes. And when he does see minutes, and he's obviously not afraid to shoot the ball with the Clippers, he hasn't really had a good game, but we cashed his 13.5 points line earlier with him versus the Rockets. And when he does see at least 10 shots, 26 plus minutes, he's gone over this line, even this 14.5 line, more times than he has not. 14 out of 22 games, averaging almost 20 points per game. But it is a new system. I do still think this line is pretty low, but it was just a lean for me again because I like Kawhi's points. I also like Brook Lopez's threes at minus 108. If he's taken 7 threes again, I went back and watched this game versus the Rockets, and I mean, you guys can look for yourself. Brook Lopez is never in the paint on offense. He's literally just hovering around the three-point line. He sets a screen for Kawhi or someone, he just pops. And that's what Brook Lopez does. So if he does see a good amount of volume from deep, I do think he could make 2 threes tonight or tomorrow whenever you're watching this video. And similarly with Chris Dunn as well, he is minus 220 to make 1 3, but plus 220 to make 2. He made 4 right before the All-Star break. He took 6. But if he sees like 3, 4 attempts, he's gone over this line in 15 out of 25 games, averaging just under 2 3-pointers made per game. But still just a lean for me. On the Nuggets side, I almost locked this in when the lines originally dropped, but I did want to see how the line moved and if it became available on other books. It hasn't, but I really like Jonas Valanciunas' over 7.5 points. I mean, just looking at games without Aaron Gordon, without Peyton Watson, he's gone over in 5 out of 5, averaging 10 points per game. And he didn't play more than 16 minutes, so he's projected to play like 13 to 16 minutes, perfectly fine for me. All these games were with Cam Johnson. Some of them were with Christian Braun as well, which is the case tonight or tomorrow whenever you're watching this. But my read was the backup center for the Clippers is Yannick Konan Nadenhauser, a rookie. He's decent, but Jonas Valanciunas is a vet. And he's been able to consistently score 8 points more times than he does not. He's averaging 9 on the season. So I know Brook Lopez is a pretty good rim defender. He's really old. And the Clippers' paint defense obviously isn't as good as it was when Zubac was on the team. And if we just look at games when Jonas has played 13 to 16 minutes, he's gone over this line in 17 out of 21 games, averaging 9.5 points. It's not that tough of a matchup. And like I was saying, he's a vet versus a rookie. He should be able to eat. He's got like 20 or 30 pounds on him as well. So again, just another really, really strong lean of mine. I might lock this in still, just kind of waiting to see when it becomes available on more books because I can't really post this to you guys. Not everyone has access to these books. But yeah, that is pretty much a full slate breakdown. A lot of the player prop leans that I do like. As always, shout out to PropsMadness. They are by far the best research tool on the market. They have filters other apps do not have. All winning bettors on YouTube and in the space use PropsMadness. So if that's not you, then maybe you should think about your process a little bit. Like, how many other research tools can you look all the way to Friday and just still get lines for players? Like, I know no lines are obviously dropped, but you can still look at anybody you want to look at any game. Like, that's insane. That's on top of all the charts and data they give. So if this does sound like something you guys need or want, make sure you use code Nick. I know it's at the top of the screen all video for 25% off your first month using PropsMadness. But yeah, that's all I got for today's video. I know it was a long one. Thank you guys for sticking with me. If you did watch to the very end, comment VIP, because if anyone comments VIP, I will give you a free month of VIP just for this video and within like 24 hours before the game time start. That's what we'll do. Before the games start tomorrow, Thursday, February 19th, if anyone comments VIP, I will give it to you for free. No limit. 10 of you guys could comment VIP, and as long as it's before the games start, I'll give you free VIP. But yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.